You're logging into your favorite game, grinding out some gear. A couple of points added to your stats, and you have a virtual beer. Max level is pretty cool, but I'll remind you here, my friend. These games are not about the goal, it's about the journey and not the end.
You're listening to MMO Reporter on the MMO Reporter Network, brought to you by Doghouse Systems. Choose your weapons with Doghouse Systems. Audible, find your next great read at audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter, and by GoDaddy. Put your website to work while you play.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish. Each and every little character you've got, no matter what level they're at. Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of MMO Reporter. This is episode number 207, going here on Monday night, talking about a little bit of MMOs with my favorite. I'm going to pronounce the entire name because if I shortened it would be weird. Welcome, Layanor, to 207. How are you doing tonight?
The favorite, and I got a longer name? What?
What's
I was
going
to
say
here?
If you're going to make me spell it out, I was going to say my favorite Lay, but you know, that just doesn't. And we're off to a screaming start.
You made me blush.
Oh, shucks. And thankfully, Harry and Chris are not here to have to deal with that. So, how you doing, Layanor?
I am doing pretty well. I've been working on a whole lot of pack stuff this week. Jeez, like editing. And I've gotten really, really good at it, thankfully.
Oh, Jesus. I guess when you're editing for Chris, you have to be pretty good at editing because, you know, he never takes one. He never does it in one take, does he?
No, he doesn't.
No.
Especially with our bloopers that I put at the end of the videos.
Yeah, I saw that. The day 3 bloopers are actually pretty good. And so for those of you, we'll obviously be adding it to the show notes here, but highly recommend everybody check out the all three packs recaps as well as the other stuff going up and everything like that. But especially the day 3 recap and the bloopers at the end are entirely appropriate. They're good.
We had a little bit of problems with some of the files in the day 1 recap, and the guys were actually really tired too. They had been doing interviews and walking around all day, and their battery packs died on them twice while they were trying to do the recap video.
Jeez.
And I almost put bloopers in, but I decided not to because Harry, both times when the cameras came back up again, you know, with a different video pack, both times he was like looking at the camera like, kill me. And I decided not to put it in because he looked serious. He was really tired.
There's jokes and then there's poking the bear.
Yep, yeah. So what have you been doing this week?
Oh, this week, you know, it was actually a really bad gaming week for me this week. I played single dad for several days while Isani was on the road doing her thing. She did not go to PAX. I'm sure she would have loved to, but she had her own thing. So I played keeping 3 small children alive, and I'd like to say that I beat the final level, and they survived, every single one of them.
Awesome. Did you like feed them cans of beans? Like in Mr. Mom?
Oh, they you know, they ate and everything. Like there was real food on the table for them. I was sober most of the time, so that was pretty good.
You ordered pizza every night?
No, I didn't. I dadded up and I cooked stuff, and it was great. So yeah. Anyway, so I have live kids. So in the meantime, though, when they slept, or when they finally slept, I did pop into Guild Wars 2 a bit. Still just alt running there. Still really, you know, I was thinking about it, and it's most of the content that I'm doing right now is stuff that I've done. I don't think there's anything that I'm doing now with my alt leveling that I haven't done literally half a dozen times already before. Like it's the same stuff, but it's still fun. And I think it's because Guild Wars 2 is still. I feel like every week I just have to expound on a new virtue for Guild Wars 2. But this week it's basically the skill level part of it. It's challenging enough, like it's the arcade game style or the quote unquote action game style that's just barely actiony enough for somebody who's been completely soul suckingly destroyed by their children during the day and is still just a little bit drunk, but still easy enough for that guy to play.
Starting to see a theme here.
I assume. I assume. So, no, it was good. So I had a good time there. I got my ranger up to, I think it was like level 71. I did a whole bunch of crafting and yeah, it was good. So Guild Wars 2, yay. Now once schedules settle down, I have full intention of jumping back into Telltale's Game of Thrones thing, especially coming up to the season premiere in a few weeks for Game of Thrones. I've got an itch that needs to be scratched there, and I'm hoping Telltale's going to be the way that gets scratched for me.
Okay, well, let me give you a couple questions real quick. First of all, is that following the books, or is it like a off story?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's apparently canon, like it's part of the universe. HBO's been involved, and by proxy, George R. R. Martin through the showrunners and everything like that through HBO for Game of Thrones have been involved. But it's very much a side story. You're not playing as Tyrion or Daenerys or any of the main characters. It's very much kind of like this little side quest. But you do like. You're skirting around events in the game, like the prelude actually kicks off right at the Red Wedding. So I think the Red Wedding is old enough now that we don't have to talk about spoilers. But in the really, really bad part of the Red Wedding is when the story actually kicks off. So it was actually kind of cool, and that's as much as I'll spoil for that. So
Gotcha.
So yeah, so that's my gaming this week. How about you, Layanor? What did you get up to?
I didn't get into too many things. I actually got to play with a couple listeners of the shows. There was 2 listeners that I got to play with on Lotro, who listened to Lotro Reporter.
Cool.
We went through some epic battle stuff. And there was a listener that plays a Secret World, and I got to play with them through a scenario. And it was a elite scenario, so that was the first time I actually got through one of the harder scenarios, and it was kind of hard. If you don't know what a scenario is, it's basically a sci-fi version of a skirmish from Lord of the Rings online.
Oh, okay.
So they will teleport in monsters and stuff instead of them running into the area. So, and there's a little lady that tells you about where they're going, and if one of your people dies, she tells you, and blah blah blah. So that's basically what that is. And then whenever I was not editing something and had time on my own, I got into a lot of Guild Wars 2. I started at level 23, and I'm close to level 40 now.
Yeah.
I have been asking a lot of people about how do you do this, how do you do that. I found out exactly where the auction halls are now, so I can have good gear, finally.
Yeah.
Good. I've been traveling. Before that, I was traveling all over the place trying to talk to the vendors, the heart guys, and the faction guys or whatever they are, and trying to get gear out of them. But you need to know which one has good gear for you at your level, and it was just a big pain in the butt. But I started getting some of that, and then I was like, screw it. Where the hell is the auction hall?
Well, and you can gear yourself pretty well in the auction hall too for cheap. Like the heart vendors are good because the only thing they cost you is karma, and there's not a lot that you're going to spend your karma on, especially at this level, outside of what the heart vendors sell. But like you said, the trick is making sure that you're playing in a level appropriate zone at a level appropriate heart, or you're going to just be buying stuff that's either almost exclusively it's going to be too old for you, or it's going to be too low level for you. So
and then when I got on the auction hall, there like all the gear that was at level for me was like 2 silver, 5 silver. Some of it was 10 to 11 silver. There was also stuff that was close to gold, so I just kind of avoided that stuff. Since
Yeah.
you scroll down a few more and you'll find something either just as good or the same thing with a lot cheaper. So I was like, yeah,
Well,
this is the way to go.
for leveling purposes, like I got my ranger to 71. I'm still not paying more than like 5 silver for an item or for a weapon or piece of armor or anything like that.
Hmm.
Because for leveling, it goes so quickly that it's not really going to be worth it. And it's not like you don't need that extra 0.5% of DPS that's going to cost you an extra gold piece per item
Right.
at that level anyway. It's a little more fun. I like to deck my characters out when they get to 80, and I go all out. I get exotic gear. I get all the best or all the sigils that I want, and just completely max out everything as much as I can. I get I also like transmute and get the gear looking as fancy as I can get. I'll buy a bunch of different color dyes and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But for leveling purposes, I look like a hobo clown kind of thing.
Okay, so I have a question
So
for you. I need to know what the
then I
heck
have
these
one for you.
stats do.
Okay,
So what
shoot.
what is power?
Power is damage. Power
Damage.
hits hard.
What is
So basically,
precision?
precision is basically crit chance. So it's
Oh.
I believe there might be one other stat that it has kind of a minor effect on, but precision is yeah, basically how likely you're going to crit.
What is ferocity?
Ferocity
Yeah.
is actually it's the companion for precision. It's basically crit magnitude.
Okay.
So if you're going for DPS or all you want to do is just burn things down as quickly as possible, you want what's called berserker gear. They call it berserker gear because
Hmm.
that's the prefix that goes in front of the weapon style, and that'll give you as your primary stat power, and your secondary stat will be precision and or secondary stats are precision and ferocity. So it's really easy to kind of underdo vitality and toughness and that kind of thing when you're focusing on that. So I usually have a couple pieces that are specifically have those as the primary stat, just so that I don't have them as completely unboosted.
Right.
But for the most part, if you're doing almost anything, Berserker is you can't hardly go wrong with Berserker gear.
Yeah, I just started figuring out some of that stuff at the end when I was buying all the pieces of armor, and some of the things just didn't make sense. I kind of assumed power was strength and your main DPS, but I
Mhm.
wasn't sure, and it was kind of
Yeah.
weird, because in every other game, power is like either your mana or your
Yeah.
magic energy or something like that. So I was like, well, this comes with precision, which could be distance. This is like, I really
Because it
need to
does look
ask
like a
somebody.
The icon does look like a scope, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So actually, and if you hover over all the stats, like if you go into your character view and hover over all the stats, it'll actually give you a little bit of a breakdown of what each stat does and what each supporting stat contributes to.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So now the reverse question is going back to Lotro and playing there, your epic battles. How do you do that without wanting to send your head through the wall?
First of all, you need a guide.
A guide.
Yep.
So an actual human guide, or
Well,
is that
that
like
would
an
be a better
NPC?
one. But
Oh,
if you have a written down guide, that's almost as good. If you're in there with somebody that already knows how to work the epic battles, like what quests come up, because there's a pattern to it. If this
mhm.
if quest 1A comes up, that means BA and CA are going to come up. If quest 1A comes up, then 22 or 22A and 2
Yeah,
C, blah blah blah. It's a chain.
yeah.
They
It's always
know.
packages of quests. fast.
Right. They know the pattern, so they're going to be setting up everything while you guys are waiting when the soldiers are killing those orcs in the beginning. So, you know, you start putting your barricades up, you start putting everything where it needs to be, and then as soon as the epic battle starts up finally, everything runs smoothly, and everybody knows exactly what's going on because somebody told them. Now, if you're just running in there on your own, it's hell.
Okay. Now,
It's a mess.
that was the kind of the interesting bit, because I've basically only ever done solo and duo epic battles, and I found solo to be a little bit stretched. Like I had to really hustle to make the various points and catch the different quests as they happen and everything like that. And when I duoed, it was just so dirt easy I almost fell asleep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I assume it scales a little bit better as you get up to 3s and 6s and that kind of thing.
Yeah. The Turbine decided to make these solos duo as well, just, you know, because there's a lot of people that just play, you know, with 2 people. And they did not scale it all the way up to be duo. They just kept it at solo difficulty. So yeah, those are pretty easy when you start playing with just 2 people. And that's probably the best way to learn.
Mm-hmm.
After that, yeah, they you should be geared up pretty well. Not super well, but you should have at least, you know, everything up to the best gear that you can get without like getting all the super epic stuff. Basically, if you're level 100, try and get level 100 stuff before walking in. If you're level 80, try and get all your 80 stuff, you know, and then go in. So it'll scale you up to 100, and you won't be doing very little damage or something like that. You need to be as good as you can get for your level, but without going super duper Superman, and you should be fine.
Okay. And that might be part of it too. When I was trying to solo, I had just hit 100, so all my gear was probably
90.
5-10 levels behind me.
Yeah.
So anyway, cool. Well, there you go. We've helped each other. It's a helping podcast when we don't have Chris and Harry here to get in the way. Hopefully, we helped someone else out there too. So before we jump into the news, I just wanted to throw a really quick thank you out to everybody who's one of our patrons on patreon.com. We've already hit one stretch goal and got a beautiful little music piece from Chris and Harry. Thank you guys for that. But thanks to everybody who's contributing there. If you'd like to contribute to MMO Reporter, help us keep going, help us keep paying the bills and keep paying Chris and Harry to not be here, head on over to patreon.com/MMO Reporter and look at the setup we've got there. And if you see something you like and you want to plunk down $1 or $2 or whatever, then we would be just thrilled to pieces. Welcome back. And so first off, before we get into the actual news here, Chris asked us to do just a little bit of a review for PAX. Obviously, PAX just happened in Boston this weekend. It was a big show. We did lots of coverage. There's going to be more stuff coming up particularly on the YouTube channel here soon. So we'll have lots of good breakdown stuff. So we'll start off. Get a few impressions. So for PAX, Harry, what was the real magic? Harry's not here. Sorry. So that's okay. Chris, I know there's always a defining moment at PAX for you, and what do you think that was? Oh, hang on. Chris isn't here either. So we're gonna do a little bit interesting here. We're gonna do the PAX East review show for MMO Reporter with the 2 guys that actually didn't go to PAX. So PAX Boston. PAX was in Boston this year, right, Layanor?
It was in Boston?
Yeah.
Where is Boston?
Right there. I think it must be in the east somewhere,
In the
like
east.
PAX
Well,
East,
I live in the
Boston.
east.
I think
I don't walk past
it's like,
Boston.
oh well, maybe it's in the east. I don't know. I hear it's right by New York. Boston and New York are really good buddies, right? Like they totally just they're like neighbors and get along and everything.
Probably. They must.
They cheer for all the same sports ball teams and everything like that. So anyway, so before we get too deep into that, so we will have Chris and Harry back next week, and they're going to fully disseminate all of their PAX experiences to us and give us their highs and their lows and probably dirty stares for just giving them a little bit of a send up on today's episode, and which we totally deserve but don't regret at all.
Nope.
Anyway, for news, in real news, we've got a little bit of Star Citizen fun for everyone this week. Star Citizen is actually going to be available for free for a few days here for anyone. Period. Like whether you were a backer for Kickstarter or bought anything or not, or just want to give it a try, as part of their PAX magnificence, they are actually putting out a code to be able to log in, get access to the Anvil Hornet F7C ship for the Arena Commander module, ability to do a little bit of walking around the hangar deck and just kind of explore and get a little bit of a taste of Star Citizen, which is really cool. The code, which is flying around the internet right now, no pun intended, is PAX East Free Fly 2K15, and we'll put that in the show notes, obviously, as well. We'll try to get the show edited a little bit quickly because out to everyone so that they can find out about it. This is only going to run through Sunday this week, so I believe the end of the day on Sunday the 15th is the last day that you'll be able to pop in. So you'll want to log in, you want to apply or create an account, apply that code, and start downloading the client as early as you possibly can because it is a big client and yeah, but probably worth checking out. I just all my Elite Dangerous time has actually got me curious, if nothing else, to see how Star Citizen plays and that. So I will probably be giving it a try. How about you, Layanor? What's your thoughts on a free Star Citizen run?
Well, I don't know. If I could figure out how to fly my damn ship in Elite Dangerous, I then might be able to go to Star Citizen and figure that game out.
I'm curious. Like I've seen a bit of Star Citizen out there, but haven't really done very much hands-on. I don't know if it's actually easier or harder or different or almost exactly the same or what. We'll have to get a little bit of feedback. If there's anyone out there who wants to give a bit of a breakdown or like a head-to-head comparison, that'd be really great. I'm sure Harry and Chris will be able to give us a little bit of a taste of the head-to-head comparison for that next week as well.
That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
In other news, we have kind of a update to the Daybreak layoffs that we were hearing about, and apparently there are a lot of things that are going on right now. It turned out to be 140 total layoffs in the San Diego offices, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge. It throws me off because I'm like looking at the number and I have to say the rest of the news. Before we go anywhere else, then let me ask you, like, holy crap, Bill, this is 140 employees. This is probably, you know, bringing the whole team down to a skeleton crew, like at least close to a skeleton crew. I think most big games are like around like 300, 400 some people, I think.
Well, and the thing is, this is crossing a bunch of different games too. Like there's some, I think there's some PlanetSide 2 layoffs in there. I think there's obviously some EverQuest Next layoffs in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably actual EverQuest layoffs in there as well. I mean, it's still a lot though. Now the San Diego office is actually one of the older offices for Sony. Like they opened that up apparently way back in 1999. So that's like 15 years that's been there. So I expect that it's very likely moves the needle there, but I don't think it's demolishing that office or
Right.
anything like that. It's the only thing that's concerning is, I mean, obviously we know that there's going to be this kind of thing, is very likely directly being caused by the purchase of Daybreak.
Hmm.
But they're still in development of EverQuest Next and Landmark and everything like that, and it's like we've kind of gotten used to this kind of announcement happening after a game is released,
Right.
but it feels weird to be seeing it before the game even has a release date, much less actually approaching release. So I'm kind of hoping, I'm sad for everybody who got laid off, and I'm really hoping that the project doesn't just fizzle because of I just hope it doesn't fizzle, period.
Right, and there were a couple other changes that happened over the weekend as well. The GMs have a new policy that they have to follow, and it is if players destroy an item, or if they looted one on accident, or they made one on accident, sold one on accident, whatever, things that deal with items that people, mess up or screw up. GMs will not be able to help them with that anymore, and they've also announced that if you've deleted a character, your character is forever deleted. They are not going to bring it back.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate those policies. Like, I understand that they're a pain and they're unfortunate. Like, obviously they're doing a whole bunch of expectation management here and trying to make sure people know that you're only getting so much support for this game that's not even out yet.
Hmm.
So, although, I mean, if they have CSRs, that does imply a little bit, a certain amount of releasedness. So now, is that limited to just Landmark and EverQuest Next, or is that across all games, like right through EverQuest and PlanetSide and everything else?
From what I read, this was from EverQuest 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Like, if that's a policy they're changing this late in the game for those two games, yeah. I guess it speaks to the fact that they don't want to deal with so many tickets, so they just offer fewer services.
Right.
Yeah, it has bad taste.
It could be too that they're actually bringing in more GMs as well, possibly.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath for that.
Yeah. But yeah,
We just laid off 140 people. We're gonna hire a bunch more.
yeah.
It's the obvious follow-up.
But yeah, it's some pretty scary things going on over at that company right now. I think we're
Mhm.
all expecting something to hear, something drop, like something's canceled or something's closing down or something like that. But I think there's a good chance that they're going to be keeping everything going, and that the company just wanted to scrape off the fat, so to speak, even though I don't think that they needed to.
Yeah, we'll see. I think there's so much that happens behind the scenes financially and everything for game development like this, especially when you're in the middle of an acquisition.
Right, but this is
It's
EverQuest and EverQuest 2 we're talking about here. And apparently those games are still bringing in quite a bit of money. So for these people to just come in and lay off a whole bunch of people, they just want to max out the amount of money that is coming in.
Yeah, but when you've been bought out by a company that makes everything you do look like peanuts, like, yeah, they were big fish small pond before they got acquired, and now
Hmm.
they're little fish big pond. I even if they're profitable, if they're not profitable enough, that's probably enough to get axed, which is very sad. But
Hmm.
anyway, I wish the best for everyone there. I hope everyone lands on their feet. Maybe they'll go wind up working on Final Fantasy 14,
Oh,
because
transitions.
don't you know that Final Fantasy 14 is apparently just blowing the socks off of everybody. We talked about it a bit last week, and they
Hmm.
were at about I think we said it was about 4 million subscriptions, which is probably one of the biggest MMO numbers we've seen this side of World of Warcraft.
Hmm.
Well, this week we've got article linked from Massively OP. that is an interview with Naoki Yoshida. This is an interview that did go through a translator, so take the precise words with a grain of salt. But yeah, it talks a lot about Heaven's Word and everything like that. But the bit that kind of caught me and caught Massively OP as well is the direct comments that they're not even looking at free to play or buy to play as a model that Final Fantasy XIV is looking at. That they're really happy with their subscription model. They said they're sitting at about an 80% satisfaction rate for the subscription model that they've got right now, which is great. It's actually not that surprising. I mean, we've talked a lot about it on the show, and certainly Chris talked about it a lot, between Lotro free to play and Rift free to play and WildStar and that kind of thing, that there's a certain amount of community binding that happens more with a subscription game than with a free to play game. I think that there's a bit of a feeling or impression that the other players that you're playing with are a little bit more invested, and they love the game a little bit more, and it's just there's a little bit more dedication to the game because it's coming off your credit card every single month. So
Right.
You don't get the tourists rolling through or anything. So it's interesting side. What do you think? Is Final Fantasy XIV kidding themselves, thinking that they're going to be able to stick with the subscription model for the long haul?
I don't think so, because Final Fantasy XI is still a subscription game, even after that being out for, I want to say, like 6 or 7 years. That's been going for a long, long time, and the price of that has not gone down and has not gone up, and the content of that game is real slow coming out. There are still a lot of people paying for that game, so I don't think that they're going to be dropping paying for free-to-play at all, like possibly ever.
Yeah, there you go. I agree actually. I don't see, I mean, if they're the big winners again outside of World of Warcraft, they're the big winners out there right now as far as the subscription model. So it's hard to see them walking off that trail anytime soon. So and again, good to see. I like to see any MMO. I still haven't played Final Fantasy XIV, so I feel like I'm missing out. And actually, it's a very in-depth article. Like it's a 2-pager. There's lots of good questions. I just, none of it makes any sense to me, and I sort of wish Harry was here, because I bet you he would have all kinds of good things to say. Comments on it. So we miss you, Harry. So anyway, speaking of missing Harry and Chris, I'm going to be the one to tell you all about our sponsors for the show. I hope that you go out and check out Audible, particularly over at audible.com/MMO Reporter. Audible, of course, is the internet source for audiobooks and all kinds of listening pleasures out there.
30 Shades of Grey.
30 Shades of Grey, yeah, because that's only the first half. Yeah, you could get through our audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. You can get the first 30 Shades of Grey, but then you have to subscribe to get the last 20. So that's unfortunate, but no, in all seriousness, though, check out the trial. Pick your favorite book that you haven't had time to read yet, and download that book on that trial. It will be free. You can keep it forever, and you'll probably love it so much that you'll be an Audible subscriber for the rest of your life. So check it out, audibletrial.com/MMO Reporter. And everybody needs a hot fat rig to play their fancy dancy MMOs on, and Doghouse Systems would love to build that for you. Head over to Doghouse Systems and have a look what they have to offer. They build some super cool systems there, and if you do find something that you want to have them build for you, order it up and make sure you use the coupon code MMO Reporter to double your RAM on your system, because double RAM is always better. More RAM, always better. So there you go. Check it out, Doghouse Systems. And that's where we are. Layanor, do you want to tell everybody how they can get a hold of us?
I sure can. They can go to our website at mmoreporter.com. They can email us at mmo.reporter@gmail.com. They can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/MMOReporter. They can Twitter us. Send us lots of twits at MMO_reporter. You can twit Harry at Harry Hall. You can twit me at Layanor. You can twit Bill at MMO Bill. We have a voicemail. Our voicemail is 616-666-6778. And you should check out all of our PAX coverage that we are doing right now at youtube.com/MMO Reporter Network.
Right on. Thanks, Layanor. And thanks, Layanor, for joining us on the show. Thanks, Harry and Chris, for not joining us. No, in all seriousness, Harry, we should be back to full complement next week. We'll get everybody's views on PAX this week, as well as all the other news and happenings and everything else in the MMO world. So thanks everybody in the chat room for joining us. Thanks everybody who's downloaded and tuned in for listening. We love you. We just love you platonically, of course. Lots of love. Thanks very much. Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you all in game.
Don't forget about your ults you need to cherish each and every little